Good afternoon. This is Mayor Morse. I want to take a few moments to update the public on the New Year's Day fire and where we go from here. But first, I want to thank each and every one of you for your compassion and generosity in the hours and days since the devastating fire. In addition to donating clothing, food, and furniture, we've already raised over $83,000 towards our relief efforts, all of which will go directly to the individuals and families impacted by the New Year's Day fire. I understand after events like these, some people look for someone to blame, and as mayor, that sometimes falls on me. But solely pointing fingers will not help us move forward, nor will it help us prevent events like this from happening in the future. I think we all can agree that public safety should be our number one priority. I certainly do. And that's why in my first term, I appropriated $1.5 million to purchase 3 new fire trucks. It's why I recently appropriated an additional $2 million to upgrade our city's fire and police radio system. And due to our administration's advocacy over the last 5 years, we've received nearly $3 million in federal grants to hire 23 new firefighters in the city, 10 of which will be hired in the next few months. Thanks to the advocacy of Chief Pond, the Mass Fire Academy is scheduling an additional class in Springfield to expedite the hiring of these 10 firefighters. I have examined the details of this fire with experts, our fire chief, the state fire marshal. I've also heard concerns from many of you about the continual browning out of Engine 2. I appreciate and I understand your concerns, but I also want to ensure that we have a shared understanding of the major issues at hand. First, none of us ever want to see a fire happen in our community, particularly such a devastating and fatal fire. But if and when it does happen, our fire department will continue to respond in full force. On January 1st, almost 10 minutes after the fire started, our department got its initial call. Engine 1, Engine 3, Truck 1, and a deputy chief responded swiftly. After that, a general call was made, and all apparatus in the city, including Engine 2, responded. After that, we called in mutual aid, and South Hadley, East Hampton, and Chicopee were also on scene. Our fire department did an outstanding job, and they should be commended for that. And they will continue to do an outstanding job. God forbid anything like this happens to you or your family. With that said, where do we go from here? 1, we need to continue to be proactive. We already have one of the best fire prevention departments in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, but as always, we can do more. As I've said since the fire, there were 2 particular issues at hand with this incident. Number 1, the monitored system, that is, the alarm in the building that should have connected to the fire department, wasn't operating that day. And number 2, there were no sprinklers in the building. As Chief Pond has said since the fire, if there were sprinklers, it would have certainly made a difference and the damage would have been less. In terms of sprinkles, the city will continue to be strong proponents of the installation of sprinklers in buildings that undergo significant renovation or new construction. We've gone as far as the Mass Supreme Judicial Court to request a local landlord to install sprinklers per Mass general law, and we won't let up on those efforts. In terms of monitored systems, every building, like the one on Northeast Street, should have an alarm that connects directly to the fire department. It will save lives. In the coming days and weeks, I will be proposing an ordinance to the City Council that requires all landlords to install a monitored alarm system. For context, this is the second building owned by the same company that has had a devastating fire in the last 3 years alone, and that is simply unacceptable. 4, as always, I'm in constant communication with the fire chief. I rely heavily on his expertise, and he has my full support. I also had a productive meeting this morning with the president and other representatives of our local firefighters union. As always, I want to work in collaboration with them to move forward. I have no interest in a political back and forth. Our residents deserve more. Together, these efforts will make a difference. Some have suggested that I unilaterally raised brownouts. With any decision, they aren't made alone and without work and collaboration with the Holyoke City Council. Our city budget is a process that involves all branches of our government. And over the last few years, the council and I have worked hand in hand to limit overtime spending while maintaining adequate fire protection in our community. Any conversation moving forward will require more than a unilateral decision from Room 1. It will require a conversation with all involved about the deployment of city resources. I am pledging to work closely with the fire chief, the fire commission, the firefighters union, and of course the city council to craft a fiscal year 2018 budget that limits brownouts and enhances fire protection in our community. In closing, I want to thank the people of Holyoke for their compassion and concern. Through even the most intense rhetoric, I see more than anything a care and concern for your fellow Holyoker. And as mayor, I feel that responsibility and burden more than anything. Every night I go to sleep and every morning that I wake up. I want to thank all of you, and I look forward to working together, united, to make sure we protect all of Holyoke's family and people. Thank you.